Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to a live recording of the Engadget podcast. I'm senior editor Devendra Hardawar, and I'm here with our reviews editor Sherlyn Lowe. Hey Sherlyn.
Hello.
Hey, and our podcast producer Ben Elman.
Hi.
Hey, it's a busy morning over here, so we're getting ready to chat about a couple of things. I guess some small news, right? Some new headphones from Apple, the Cyberpunk stuff. If you are joining us for the first time, you're going to be seeing the raw, everything, all the sausage that gets put into the Engadget podcast. So all the stuff we're going to have to redo and maybe some errors or whatnot. We're also going to leave time in between our segments for Q&A with you guys. So stick around. We can't chat with you during the episode because we are basically, actually recording the podcast. But yeah, we'll make time for that in between stuff. So are you guys good to go?
We sure are.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Oh, so ready. We're so ready. It's such a busy week.
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all.
Never.
All right, I'm going to kick it off. What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget podcast. I'm senior editor Devendra Hardawar.
I'm reviews editor Sherlyn Lowe.
This week, it's all about the AirPods Max, I guess. Well, it's really all about Cyberpunk 2077, and it's about so many things. I just want to say...
Do you want to do that again? 2077 or 2077?
2077, yep. Do that again. What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget podcast. I'm senior editor Devendra Hardawar.
I'm reviews editor Sherlyn Lowe.
This week, Cyberpunk 2077 has finally arrived. And also, surprisingly, Apple has finally showed off their big over-the-ear headphones. These are some things we've been hearing about for a while. The AirPods Max. And we'll talk about some news that was kind of dropped last week that I think is really important. That's Warner's decision to drop all of their movies from 2021, all the WB movies, onto HBO Max at the same time they're hitting theaters. So it's going to be a fun discussion. As always, if you're enjoying the Engadget podcast, please be sure to subscribe to us on your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes. And hey, if you want to drop us a note or something, you can email us at podcast@engadget.com. We typically live stream about the show We typically live stream our recording of the show on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. So you could join us to, check out the live chat and ask us questions. You could join us to check out the live chat and ask us questions in between segments. Okay.
I'm so glad it's not me having to do this.
Yeah, it's all so much fun. Let's go straight into AirPods Max.
Yeah.
Okay, so Apple has finally given us noise-canceling over-the-ear headphones. It's the AirPods Max, and hey, yeah, this is something that's been rumored for very, very long. There's actually a story this week from a former Apple engineer who says they've been working on this for the past 4 years. So I'm not too surprised, but I am surprised by a couple of things. They look very Apple-y, they look very sleek, but they cost $550. And I don't know, I feel like Apple is maybe pushing their premium design, their premium sensibility a little too much here, because I'm not really seeing much about these headphones that make them worth that much. But what are your first impressions, Sherlyn, of these things?
The fact that it comes in a carrying case that looks really incredibly strange, and I guess unique is the word. It spawned 1,000 memes, and I don't want to tell you what some people have called it because I don't think it's all very X or R rated or G friendly. But
I mean, a bra is PG-13. Like we could say it looks like a bra. I don't know.
Okay. It looks like a yeah,
and many other things.
Carrier. Yeah. But that was not the first thing I thought. But anyway,
interesting.
And I was
now I'm trying to think about what you were thinking. But yes, go ahead.
Butts. I saw butts. Yeah.
You're like Tina from Bob's Burgers. Everything is just butts. Yeah.
She's kind of my spirit animal.
She's great.
But yeah, the price definitely shocked me. At first, I was like, "Wow, $550 is like $200 more than most like over-ear headphones from premium brands like Sony." But then I was like, "Okay, wait, what else costs less than this?" And I was like, "Okay, a PS5 costs less."
The PS5, the Xbox Series X, like a nice iPad Air.
Yeah, so many things are cheaper. So I mean, That just was ridiculous in my opinion. I don't know how Apple thinks it's going to compete with the likes of Sony in this space, but
They're not.
you
Yeah.
know this. You know them a bit better than I do, Dev. What were your thoughts?
I will say I'm a little confounded by all this because, hey, I love Sony's noise canceling headphones. I reviewed the 1000 XM3s. Billy Steele reviewed the XM4s, which came out this year. In terms of like premium over the ear noise canceling headphones, they're pretty much the best you can get on the market. And they typically sell between $350 on sale. Sometimes you could get a little cheaper, $350 to $400. I believe the actual retail price is $350. But that's kind of the baseline of what you'd expect for premium noise canceling headphones. So Bose's latest headphones, they kind of owned that market for a while until Sony came in. Bose's also cost around the same price. And for me, I always felt like, man, it's really hard to recommend these things because who has over $300 to spend on headphones, right? And here comes Apple with something that's nearly twice as much. And at least on the specs front and on the features front, I can't see why it's nearly twice as much because, you know, they produce a lot of things. This feels like classic Apple in the sense that they're producing something that seems over-designed to the point where it's kind of crazy. You know, I'm thinking of the article I wrote about the $1,000 monitor stand they announced a couple of years ago, which just seems so ridiculous. But in Apple's universe, you know, the idea of having something that's so precisely engineered makes sense. People will pay that money. But let me give you guys some copy from Apple because I think just the way they wrote about this thing.
This is why they think this is worth $550.
Yeah. The canopy spanning the headband is made from a breathable knit mesh, distributing weight to reduce on-head pressure. The stainless steel frame is wrapped with a soft-to-the-touch material for a remarkable combination of strength, flexibility, and comfort. These are features, by the way, like this is just me getting back into my own voice. They made headphones that are very specifically tuned to kind of be tightly held against your ears and produce a good seal. And those are all things you want in noise canceling headphones. So yeah, they seem very comfortable. And I think the fact that the top band flexes a bit, the fact that the foam ears kind of conform to your ears, that's all very nice. But at the end of the day, these are still wireless headphones, right? They're constrained by the fidelity of wireless. You're not getting magically better sound because it's coming from these Apple things. And actually, when they first announced them too, I was a little in Apple's own PR, in their announcement, it says an iOS device or a Mac device is required to use these things. And like the AirPods, that's not entirely true. I feel like they're just bad at messaging. It's required if you want some of the like spatial audio features and some of the like special features from this. Otherwise, they will work as normal Bluetooth headsets. So there is that. You can also, after spending $550 on these things, you could spend like $35 for an extra cable, a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter audio jack cable. You have to pay extra for that privilege, but that's how you can use these headphones on normal devices. So it is just everything I kind of hate about Apple's designs, honestly. Like the cost, the design, just it is not actually giving much to the consumers. And it's weird because I'm coming off of reviewing the MacBook Air M1, which I think is kind of a revolutionary device. It does so much for portable computing. It is just wild to me. And yeah, it reminds me of Johnny Ive stuff just in the peak of his era, right? It doesn't use touch controls. It doesn't use normal physical controls.
It's cans and they don't have touch controls.
Well, touch controls are bad, and I actually think that's a good thing. But they're using the digital control. They're using the digital crown from the Apple Watch, which just seems like, are they repurposing that? Will that actually work well? I don't quite know. I just find so much about this whole thing obscene. And then this is Apple. They own Beats. Beats for the longest time has been the company producing expensive over-the-ear headphones. Is this Super Beats? I don't know what you call this. Would you get these, Sherlyn?
No. First of all, I remember that I have covered more expensive headphones before. And it's Montblanc, the luxury brand, made their own first true wireless headphones over ears, and those cost $600. So just a touch more, just about 10% more than the Apple I guess AirPods Max. Max, no. As you were doing the dramatic reading, I wanted to see if I could take one
You could take one. Go for it. You have the final two.
My ASMR rendition, not ASMR, my trying to be sultry rendition of Apple PR. Telescoping arms smoothly extend and stay where you set them for a consistent fit and seal. The beautifully anodized aluminum cups feature a revolutionary mechanism that allows each cup to rotate independently and balance pressure. Literally,
Amazing. Amazing.
Just like $200 words for $5 sentences. Like, I don't understand. This is the whole premise, right? Like, these are $350 headphones in a $500 package or $550 package. So it's Apple being Apple, and the
it's
fact
Apple being Apple. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be fighting with their own like in-house. I mean, Beats. That just. I wonder if this is a sign that Beats as a brand may be going away. I don't think it will completely go away.
No,
but
like they spent so much money to buy Beats, right? So like,
and
it is a
Beats does
brand
have
for people.
Brand recognition, yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like I'm a little disappointed here because I kind of figured what they were doing, but I was thinking, hey, maybe Apple's going to go 400. Maybe they're going to go a bit above Sony, put on the Apple image. But no, they're going all the way. I mean, this thing's also actually it's packed with tech too, right? There's an H1 chip on each bud, which seems like overkill to me. They say that helps with syncing, but to me, you do that with the AirPods because you can wear just one in your ear, right? So both that helps with one-sided hearing or one-sided wearing. You can't really just do that with a pair of cans. You can't just have like then it's a weird thing where it's like
some people move one back, but yeah,
I hate that. I hate that so much. So anyway, I have a lot of feelings about this. I have not tested them. We're going to be trying them out soon. Probably Billy Steele trying that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Yeah. I know we are, on paper, it seems like appalling, but I'm pretty sure because it's Apple again, like once we start reviewing, testing these things, we're like, oh, actually, these are pretty good, but still too expensive. You know what I mean? Like, I think we need to spend actual time with these products.
We do. I will say my feel about this is it's very much in line with the HomePods, right? Which launched as a really expensive wireless speaker, but without the stuff you expect from a device like that, right? There was no Spotify support. You could only use it with Apple Music. There's no Bluetooth. This is at least a little more flexible, but the fact that you have to pay extra for the 3.5 millimeter cable just seems ridiculous to me. It's something meant for the Apple fans and the Apple faithful, and I'm sure people will buy this. They said it was sold out already, apparently. But this is the side of Apple. Like, Apple has many different faces. I'm a really big fan of the Apple that is pushing new boundaries and introducing new things to the industry, like the M1 chip in the MacBook Air, and I'll talk a bit about that in the MacBook Pro, is fundamentally reshaping the entire industry. These things are very expensive, pretty headphones, and that kind of seems like all, but hey, maybe we can try them out soon and we can have a better sense of it. Ben is throwing in, let me just bring this up. I think one thing you can expect is at least decent mic support and decent Siri support, because that's what the AirPods are kind of built around, right? It's the idea that you could say, "Hey Siri," and it'll wake up and do whatever you need to instantly without you hitting any buttons or doing anything. So that seamlessness for some Apple diehards may actually be pretty good. And since these are better headphones, probably will have better mic quality than the normal AirPods and AirPods Pro.
We'll see. I mean, that's the whole thing of Apple, and Apple, like, knowing it can win over its fans very easily. It's that whole ecosystem. They play so nicely together. It's like once you're in, you're kind of in. There's no really other better alternative for you because they can make the software speak so well across all devices. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I think in Apple's favor, the one thing they really have going for them with the H1 chip is just the ease of pairing, right? The ease of swapping between your devices, from listening to something on your phone to hopping over to your Mac to hopping over to an iPad. That's all like stuff that's only really possible with the H1 chip, because hey, one constant noise for me with the Sony headphones, or really any other headphones, is if I want to go from my phone to my computer, I gotta like disconnect it from my phone. I have to sync it to Bluetooth. It's always a whole process, and it's not seamless. Apple, you're paying basically for the seamlessness of Apple's hardware, and I guess people are down with that. Okay, we will wrap up here. Do we want to do a Q&A about this specifically? Because I'm sure people have questions.
Yeah,
and then we'll go into
chat
Facebook
is pretty. Yeah, we should do super quick. But you said you were going to wrap up the section, so we can wrap up and then do some Q&A maybe. Ben, what do you think?
Okay,
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
let me wrap.
We don't have them to unbox. There's people asking if we have
We
them
don't have
to
anything
unbox,
yet.
and we don't have them to unbox.
This all kind of happened at the end of the day. Okay. So we'll have more to say about the AirPods Max in the coming weeks. Check out for our coverage, likely from Billy Steele at Engadget, because he reviews all of our headphones. Stay tuned, everybody.
Okay, great.
What is the chat asking?
Well, now we're taking questions, and I mean let's be intellectually honest in everything. The good point that Devendra eventually made about the quality of the mic for calls and everything, like I put that into our show planning document, but that was actually from a comment from Jack Dubs.
Thank you, Jack.
Just a few minutes ago. Because that's something that really bothers me, actually. You pay so much for AirPods and AirPods Pro, not even like these new AirPods Max, and they still don't sound great on calls and everything. Like, it feels like there's something wrong there.
Yep. Hey, Apple has not always been great about mic quality. Don't forget like what they were packing into with iPhones for years, right? The wired AirPods, or even before the AirPods, the clunky wired stuff. I feel like the AirPods Pro have done a better job than anything so far. Those are the ones I actually use because they actually stay in my ears. The normal AirPods do not. So I can't really judge the others.
I mean, we are already seeing a comment from one Pepperoni Dave. Love that name. Said it before.
Delicious.
And I mean, he's already asking, when could we see Apple lower the price on these headphones? I'm guessing the 12th of never.
Well, next year, or if it goes the AirPods route where people aren't actually buying it, maybe within
they're
6
going to
months.
make a cheaper version.
Oh,
it does seem
but
like
not AirPod. That's HomePod.
HomePod, yeah.
HomePod Mini is a cheaper version.
But yeah, AirPods have always been popular. The sales take forever. Like it takes at least a year for you to find a decent sale on a new pair of AirPods. So wait for the next holidays. Folks, if you really want a pair of noise canceling headphones, you have so many better options. We have several guides in Engadget, and those Sonys, if you find the 1000 XM3s on sale, which you probably will because the new ones are out, they're functionally not that much different. And I think you can find some pretty good deals. I've seen those going for under 300. That's astounding. Yeah.
So Jonathan Anderson in the chat says, feel free to compare the AirPods Max to some of the higher $600 headphones.
Sure.
Not just the $300 ones. We don't compare regular AirPods to $50 headphones.
Well, that's the difference, right? So $600 headphones like Sennheiser, a lot of them, there are a lot of like premium audio brands that make stuff like that. You know what you're getting with those headphones? You're getting like, first of all, bigger drivers, I believe, because the AirPods Max are 40 millimeters, and I believe a lot of the premium headphones go up to 50 millimeters. But you're getting headphones that are typically made for wired listening as a premium type of thing. Like maybe they'll support wireless, but they have 3.5 millimeter audio jacks. True audiophiles know if you want to hear the best thing, you'll plug in a cable into your audio DAC, and you'll have like actual good processing, because you can't trust Bluetooth, you can't trust anything, and that's not something that you can really get here. It seems like these are basically all the features you get from the $300 to $400 headphones, just in a slightly nicer package. I guess they look a little different than normal headphones, so that's what Apple's really selling for here. But I trust a brand like Sennheiser much more when it comes to audio than Apple. I will pay more money for those, or Grados, or whatever. I'll pay more money for those because those are companies that are solely dedicated to solving audio problems.
So between that last comment from Jonathan and then another comment here from Alper, saying Apple is probably aiming for the Bang & Olufsen H95s.
Sure.
So yes, like they are going for the way higher end brands that aren't often covered in the most mainstream like gadget blogs.
Hey, we cover those, but the caveats are always, what you are you really going to spend $600 on headphones? That's the tough thing. Whereas I think like the Bose, the under $400 pairs are a little more palatable. They're still super expensive, but you can probably afford it over time. I feel like a lot of people have a hard time justifying headphones that cost as much as like half a month's rent or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know some people who can pay their rent in Philadelphia for what you'd pay for
Yes,
AirPods
exactly, exactly.
Okay, so I think we might want to move on. We've got a packed episode. Remember,
We have so
we're
much.
getting
We have so
we're
much.
getting to Cyberpunk 2077 today. We
We will
still need
get
to
to
get to that.
Cyberpunk probably around 11 a.m. That's the kind of time we booked because also Jess is in Arizona. So she'll be joining us to talk about her experience and her review for that. So in the meanwhile, you can also check out Jess Condit's review of Cyberpunk Head Engadget. But we're going to go on to a couple other stories here.
Yes. So let's hit this very important Facebook antitrust case.
Yeah. So one thing that came in as we started planning this episode, we already had a very packed episode here with a whole bunch of stuff. We had AirPods to talk about. We're going to have all the big Warner Brothers news and everything in Cyberpunk. But then on Wednesday, 48 states and territories in the U.S., led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, issued antitrust charges against Facebook, saying that they've been anti-competitive for years. And the ultimate goal of what the FTC is aiming for here is to undo the acquisitions of Instagram, that $1 billion acquisition in 2012, which, by the way, sparked the entire unicorn trend, right? Before that, startups were not getting bought for $1 billion. I was working, I was covering startups at that point, and we were all like, what the hell is happening here? Like, Facebook just has too much money. Instagram at that point was a company with like 12 or 13 employees. They weren't profitable. They didn't have a huge model, but Facebook was like, you're worth $1 billion. And then they topped that with WhatsApp in 2014 by spending $19 billion. And the argument here is that, let me just quote something from the FTC in the court documents. Mr. Zuckerberg recognized that by acquiring and controlling Instagram, Facebook would not only squelch the direct threat that Instagram posed, but also significantly hinder another firm from using photo sharing on mobile phones to gain popularity as a provider of personal social networking. Just as with Instagram, WhatsApp presented a powerful threat to Facebook's personal social networking monopoly, which Facebook targeted for acquisition rather than competition. So what seems to be happening here is that the government and a lot, like more states than I could imagine, really pushing Facebook against this anti-competitive behavior. A lot of them are basically blaming them for doing what Microsoft was doing in the 90s, and something that Microsoft got in trouble for either destroying competitors, stealing their ideas, or buying them before they could get too big. This is where things get a little sticky, right? Because Facebook's argument, and they issued a statement last night too, is that, hey, the FTC and the government approved these acquisitions. You can't just do a take backsies, right? And say, okay, our bad. This shouldn't exist anymore. That seems like it sets a bad precedent for mergers and acquisitions in general. And I feel like companies may start to get worried about that. But at the same time, I think we've talked about this quite a bit when the government would bring Facebook and tech giants in for hearings. There are legitimate issues, and tech is bigger than anybody expected. It has more power than anybody expected. And I think fundamentally, Facebook has shown time and time again that they are not good stewards of the data they collect, of the power they hold, of the power they have over democracy and conversation and society in general. Trillin, any thoughts about what's going on here?
I mean, we've said before on this show that I've tried to quit Facebook and it's become impossible because I can quit the main Facebook app, but I can't with Instagram and WhatsApp being part of my life. Mm-hmm. The other thing that concerns me is when, like, you talk about the purchase of Instagram, but we forget, mm-hmm. or I don't know, I forgot, right? Facebook did make a bid for Snapchat, which was one of its competitors in the past before. Mm-hmm. And Snapchat just flat out refused, which kudos. It's hard to just turn down money because we've seen what Facebook has done with Instagram. It's grown Instagram to like insane levels of popularity right now. They were right. That valuation seems accurate back then. But mm-hmm. look at what Facebook has since done with Snapchat and Instagram, right? It's basically pretty much stolen everything that Snapchat does. And do we call that competition, or do we call that like basically choking the life out of a smaller app? We don't know.
Yep.
And now I'm
And
like,
that's what Microsoft got in trouble for, by the way. Like, don't forget the whole Microsoft antitrust thing was around browsers, right? And the issue
yeah,
was around including Internet Explorer in your operating system. If you do that, there's no room for Netscape Navigator. There's no room for Opera to exist, because who else would need another browser? And
right.
Microsoft got in a lot of trouble for that. It took a while for that to get resolved. Yeah.
Thankfully, those, Microsoft had a real competitor in Chrome, and
Well, no,
Google had like
that took forever, Shirley.
that did
Like, do
take
not
forever. I
forget.
know.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I agree. Netscape did go away. Opera and Mozilla have struggled to survive, but there's still at least one main competitor. I'm saying now, if we look at Facebook's space, it's hard to see that there's anything as big. I mean, TikTok is big, I guess, but I don't see Facebook not ripping. They've already ripped off TikTok, right? Instagram.
They ripped off and badly. I think the main thing here and the main argument that I can really get behind is that Facebook is fundamentally anti-competitive because there are other popular social networks, but there's none that's like Facebook, right? There's none where all of your family and friends are, where everybody's having conversations. TikTok is its own separate thing. Snapchat is its own separate thing. You may have groups of friends in one thing, or you go to TikTok for entertainment, but it's not like a necessity that Facebook is for a lot of people because you can't leave it if you want to talk to your family anymore. And there is nothing to compete with that, right? The Google Plus died. Google couldn't produce a significant competitor. Google Plus was the one other competitor. They're dead. LinkedIn is a whole separate thing. LinkedIn's just jobs. Facebook has 2.7 billion users overall. That is a huge chunk of the world population. So I think this is the main thing. Yeah.
Do you see Twitter as a competitor?
No. Twitter is great at being it's a real-time conversation generator. And I spend all my time on Twitter. Twitter has its own issues and we could talk about that. But I've always felt like Twitter was the ideal of what I wanted from the internet, right? Like an ongoing, constant conversation. I could jump in, talk to people. I could reach people who are, super famous and still have a conversation with them. Everything's in real time. You kind of see the matrix in front of you. Facebook is it's Facebook, right? It is the thing where everybody's online identities are. You can find your old high school friends or whatever, find your family members and have chats with them. It is a very static thing. That's why they invested so much in Instagram. But to what you were saying, Sherlyn, Chrome, when did Chrome launch? Wasn't it around 2005?
I thought it was 2001, but yeah, my memory is fuzzy.
It was mid 2000s, and we can look this up right now. Go for it. But I think the 2008. Okay. Let me see here. So Chrome launched in 2008, and I feel like that is a decade after the government really started pushing Microsoft against Internet Explorer. In that time, Firefox launched and was a popular thing among open source people. Opera was a thing. Firefox was great until it got too big for itself. Then Chrome became the big popular dominant thing, and that was great for everybody. And that showed the power of competition. But I think the government was right to point out, hey, Microsoft, if you're pimping your own thing, it's really hard for anything else to survive. And Netscape Navigator, back in the day, that was the thing you had to pay for. I believe it was $30 to $40. So, and Microsoft had this free browser in their OS. Who would pay for Netscape? That's the sort of anti-competitive behavior that was the issue back then. Now it's just, I think it's Facebook's complete size. There's a lot of commentary around this stuff.
So the other thing I wanted to say was, yes, there's a lot of things that Facebook is doing that are anti-competitive, but to your point that I don't think that trying to undo the acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp really is the way to go. What are they going to do? Shop for a new owner? Are we going to sell Oracle again? What's going to happen? I don't know. This is
it's new uncharted territory. But I think the things everybody has to keep in mind is that Facebook has nearly 3 billion users. Facebook has more power and more money than most countries on this planet. And that's something somehow our government has to try to regulate. That's the problem. And then meanwhile, by the way, we've talked about this during the congressional hearings. Typically, it's conservatives whining to these companies about how unfairly they're being treated. And then it's the Democrats and everybody else being well, these are the actual competitive issues. It is very funny to see them all kind of rally together in this snowball of just hatred towards tech companies to produce this thing. But it seems messy. I don't think it's going to be a big, I don't think it's going to be a simple solution. But breaking up Facebook, if you go back and look at the history of Ma Bell, the history of AT&T and how it kind of dominated everything and killed competition, it does seem like we're going to start to have these bigger conversations around these giant companies. And I don't know. I'm not a legal expert here. I'm not a trade expert, but I do think I look at Facebook, I see a company that is getting way too big. I see it being led by a guy like Mark Zuckerberg, who has never really thought about, I don't think he ever has fully understood the power of his platform. He's always kind of denied it. Like after the 2016 election, he spent a lot of time publicly saying, "Oh, no. We are not influencing anything here." But meanwhile, there are private stories of how internally they knew, there were extremist groups. There was a lot of fake news groups. They knew a lot of things happening on their platform. They didn't do much about it. That directly influenced the real world. To me, that's scary. I think overall, we're going to need we need smarter government regulation. We need smarter oversight over tech. But that's a big thing. That means we need a whole new wave of people in power who can actually judge these things properly. And yeah, that it just seems like this is a big move. It's going to be a big story for a very long time. And Facebook is going to fight it tooth and nail, right? Because Facebook's comment was basically, the FTC's charges are revisionist history. We made these brands so big, they wouldn't be big without us, which is technically true. But if you go look at stuff around, some stories around Instagram, once it was integrated with Facebook, Sarah Freer's, her great book, No Filter, which talks about the entire Instagram Facebook deal. Facebook did a lot to really keep Instagram down too. They really didn't want them to have free reign. They wanted, in a way, they bought Instagram so they could kind of control it and build their own Facebook photo product too, potentially to see if that would get bigger or not. It didn't, but that was kind of the anti-competitive part of what they were talking about there. What do you think, Sherlyn? Do you think a company as big as Facebook needs to be reined in more?
I mean, I think the entire conglomerate of big tech companies, right? Yeah. And Facebook in its response called out Microsoft, Google, Apple as its competitors. At first I was like, really? And then I was like, you know what, in terms of scope, scale, yeah, I mean, sure, but it doesn't mean you're not stifling competition in your space. The point we've made in this podcast several times now is that, yes, we need better regulation. We need people in power who know what they're talking about, who know how to, go toe to toe with these tech titans. And also remember, that they're not operating only domestically. These are huge internationally, globally. So maybe it's some sort of international oversight board. Maybe it's that is,
we need a UN for multinational tech conglomerates. Oh man. And you look at how well that's gone.
Yeah, and you think about how the different countries have different regulations. For example, Brazil's already said that Apple can't ship the phones without a charger in them, right? Brazil's recently in this week or last week announced that. So we have different countries doing different things, and yes, the rules and international rules are always going to be tricky to navigate. But if we make it easier if these companies have so much power, then all the countries can, band together and have a lot of power. I don't know. I'm not a politician. Y'all decide how to run the world. But I'm just saying, there's other ways we got to be thinking about this. These are huge companies. These are global. Yeah. And so it's a huge issue.
2 points I want to bring up here. The FTC and the states and everybody who are really pushing against Facebook, they're saying the company has hurt consumers by squashing competition and hurting privacy too. Because don't forget, once Instagram came in, once WhatsApp came in, they were all just more data points for Facebook, right? It didn't take too long before Instagram just became something that linked you back to Facebook or brought it, kind of start to cross-link stuff between Instagram and Facebook, which ruined the Instagram user experience too. Yep. And that's honestly kind of what allowed for newer, more innovative platforms like TikTok to come about, because they weren't saddled with the need to constantly be part of Facebook. It's funny because Facebook is basically just replaying the Microsoft playbook here of getting too big, trying to bring everybody into the Borg, and becoming too big and not nimble or innovative enough because of that. This is going to be an ongoing thing, but let us know what you guys think. Shoot us an email at podcast@engadget.com. And we'll definitely be talking about this for a long time. Okay, let me just readjust my mic here.
Yeah, and should we do questions or should we move on to the next topic first?
It's 10:37, so let's do Warner Brothers, and then we could do a combined Q&A. How about that?
Sure.
All right, and our next topic is something that dropped pretty much as soon as last week's episode landed, is that Warner Brothers announced that it's going to be premiering its entire slate of movies from 2021 on HBO Max. And I just want to say, first of all, I know I'm talking a lot in this episode. I feel like I'm making up for last week's episode. Go back and listen to that.
For not being part of the fun.
Yeah, for not being part of the fun. But go back and listen to that one if you missed last week, because Sherlyn and Desconda did a great job of talking about, what was it, dating tips and advice for surviving breakups online and everything with Dr. Nerdlove. That was a great chat. It was really fun. Be sure you take a listen to that. But this news, as somebody who's a cinephile, as somebody who I've been doing a movie review podcast since 2008, it kind of hit me in a surprising way, because we don't know if movie theaters are going to be safe next year. And I think that's what WB, Warner Brothers, is really betting on here. If they put these movies on HBO Max, a service that's kind of floundering, that is not as popular as Disney Plus, and doesn't have the same sort of fandom, that could generate more subscribers. That could get some value out of these movies, even though they're not going to be making the big box office in the theaters. They are still going to be premiering some theaters. So the deal is all these movies, including The Suicide Squad, Matrix 4, I'm shocked by this, Dune, will be appearing on HBO Max for 1 month when they premiere at theaters. And that's some theaters across the US and theaters across the world too, I assume. But just 1 month. And then after that, those movies will go away, and you'll be able to rent them or buy them or get the Blu-ray, in a couple months afterwards, as you normally do. But the idea here is that they're premiering on HBO Max. By the way, HBO Max, starting with Wonder Woman on Christmas Day, will support 4K and HDR and all the fancy image tech I've wanted from them for so long. So the actual viewing experience will be pretty good at home too. First thoughts, Sherlyn, how do you feel about this as somebody who, you watch a ton of movies? I don't know how much of a theater goer you were in the before times, but you watch a lot of movies.
I'm a big fan of watching things at home, in my friends' homes, that sort of thing. And this already solves one of my problems, which is whenever I go to within my quarantine bubble, hang out with my friend, we don't know what to watch. So now that there's things coming up, we can because we used to go to the theaters here in our neighborhood. We used to go out every other Sunday and just go watch a movie. Now it's okay, well, we're gonna watch this week, and we've already planned for Christmas. We're gonna watch Wonder Woman because excited, it's gonna be released on HBO Max. And I have HBO Max and not Disney Plus, so I'm actually really glad it's happening on HBO Max. Obviously, however they negotiate, it worked out in HBO's favor. I do think we wondered if this year would be the a hint of what's to come for movie theaters in future. With the film industry having to slow down a lot of production as well, because they just didn't know, with lockdowns happening. So then now they don't have a lot of titles to fill theaters with.
Yeah.
Everything is just kind of slowing to a halt in the film industry. And maybe this is a way around it. Maybe this is, a good way for Warner Media to drop it. I don't know. Everyone's at home.
For sure. Everyone's at home. So I think one criticism is that it's not like they had to really work out some stringent deals for these movies, because these are all movies Warner Brothers was distributing. So these are already part of their kind of suite of things, their portfolio of movies. There are arguments that they've basically been self-dealing because of this, because they didn't allow the filmmakers and the producers of all these movies to start negotiating deals with Netflix or Hulu or other platforms to see would they pay more. There are legit arguments here, because there was a lot of reporting this week that Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot were paid extra money. They were paid, I think, around $10 million each to get Wonder Woman on HBO Max as sort of a way to make nice. It's make nice money, because those are people who'd be making extra money off the box office of that movie, which would be earning over $1 billion most likely. That's sort of a nice thing. HBO did not do that for any of these other movies. They didn't even tell the producers, the directors, the actors.
Yeah,
it was kind of a blindside moment. So Christopher Nolan, the very vocal director of the Dark Knight trilogy and everything in Tenet, he is a pro film guy. He was the guy pushing for Tenet to actually be released in theaters. And he hates this, unsurprisingly. And I get it. I get it, because he's the guy who cherishes the theatrical experience, so much so that he dedicated himself to using the clunkiest and most difficult cameras and producing movies for IMAX screens, which only a few people could access. This guy always wanted to do movies the hard way, and that's what he loves. I do think part of his argument falls apart because Warner Brothers really wanted to make him happy with Tenet, so proceeded to launch that movie in theaters in, what was it, September or August, in the middle of a global pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. They basically had a traditional launch with that movie. It kind of died at the box office because, reminder, things are not good. Nobody's going to movie theaters, and that strategy just didn't work out. So I do feel like Warner Brothers and Warner Media are just doing the complete opposite strategy of where they just put everything on streaming at the beginning, see how that kind of helps HBO Max, and maybe they could get some value out of that. As a consumer, yeah, I want to see these movies. I don't want to go to theaters until there's a vaccine, until things are safe.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about this as a potential, like, oh no, this is the death of cinema. I do wonder if this is more like the death of movie going in a sense, as we have it, like especially multiplexes, because I don't know, I'm old enough to remember a world without, giant theaters with like 15 to 20 screens. I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut. We didn't get like a multiplex until 1998 or 99 or something, so a lot of times when I had to go to movies, there were smaller theaters, things with like 2 or 3 screens. There weren't really indie theaters back then, but there were smaller theaters. I do feel like we'll kind of go back to that. Maybe we'll see some of the Movie Palace, the beautiful giant theaters, kind of come back, which it would just have like one screen and screen things that people will actually want to see rather than the giant multiplexes. I wouldn't feel too bad if multiplexes go away, but I hope theater going and cinema going survives in some form, right? Because we're all going to miss that communal experience after lockdown and after all of this.
I mean, yes, I'm gonna miss being in like you've written about this before, but missing being in the same space with people while we're all reacting to the same things unfold on TV. Everyone's screaming or laughing at the same time.
Sherlyn, didn't we see Avengers Endgame?
Oh my god, are you
together? Okay, and the visceral. I will always remember Sherlyn just like gripping my arm as people were dying and superheroes were like fighting. Yeah, Sherlyn was very emotional about this movie, and I wouldn't have that experience if we were just like watching it at home or something. Like, I feel like it's a very different thing. You were part of the crowd, Sherlyn.
I was. I think that I felt
people were crying. People were crying all around us. Yeah.
Yeah, people were reacting. I think I got caught up with everyone else's emotion. I'm an empath, so I get caught up with people's emotions, and I was just like, Captain America lifted Thor, Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Started crying. Yeah. But yes, I agree with you. I think I will be sad if that goes away forever. I don't think it is going away forever.
Can't be forever.
It won't be. But I am also a little bit of like a germ phobe, right? So like, sure. I'm not going to miss being like in a packed room having to like breathe everyone else's air or breath or whatever. The one thing I wanted to say too, which is why part of the thing I'm glad about HBO Max releasing all of these Warner Brothers movies or films is that they don't seem to be doing the Disney Plus thing with Mulan, where they're going to charge you an extra fee on top of the streaming subscription you're already paying. So that's something that I'm thankful for. I know it doesn't do the movie industry a lot of good. It depends on obviously what HBO Max is paying Warner, but to your point, right? It doesn't seem to be.
Well, no, HBO Max is Warner. That's the thing. They don't pay anything, right? Because they're
just releasing it through their streaming thing. So
and they get all the benefit.
Right, they're reaping and whatever else they're reaping from these films releasing on their own streaming service. So we'll see. But yeah, it's true. When I'm watching with like 2 friends in front of in a tiny living room, definitely I don't think I was gonna cry about Captain America.
But it's the thing. Like, think about. I don't know. I know most people don't go to the theater as much as I do, but hey, I do a movie podcast. Typically every year I will be at a theater, over 50 times a year to see individual movies and different things. Even when it's not a huge crowd, if it's a small crowd in indie theaters, I love to sit in the front row at BAM in Brooklyn. It's my favorite spot. And just hear the entire crowd behind me. Because if it's a sad movie, it's a very moving movie, you kind of feel the energy of the crowd. We're social animals. We want these things. And I think Steven Soderbergh, the director, made a really good point where he is the guy who's always like trying to push digital video and trying to like try new ideas. So he's a lot more innovative than Mr. Christopher Nolan. But Soderbergh is basically saying there are a ton of companies who have built their entire business model around these potentially billion-dollar releases, right? And you can only get that by putting movies in theaters, making people buy tickets, having people buy concessions to support the actual movie theaters. That whole thing only, that mechanism already exists, and maybe it won't be as big and powerful as it was after the pandemic, but as it was before. But I do think so many companies have invested in this. Like Disney, basically for the last decade, has just been producing billion dollar hit. And no matter what you do on streaming, you're never going to get that, right?
Yeah.
And that's a downside for these companies.
Unless
it's a plus for consumers, but yeah.
They start putting ads on movies, which I really don't want to.
No, shut up.
I know.
Don't give them ideas, Sherlyn.
I don't want to. Please don't. I will stop watching your movies if you put advertisements and all commercials on them.
Sounds like somebody has not watched a movie on Crackle yet. Sony's
I have. And Tubi. Tubi is the same. Crackle? Didn't Crackle die? Tubi.
I think Crackle.
Pluto TV, Sling TV. There's so many free to watch. IMDb TV.
Roku TV. Yeah.
Yep.
If you don't mind ads, you'll have a lot of free movies, that you can check out. Okay.
I think it might be
Q&A time?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah,
we got like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that might have been a good place to end things. So let me just take.
I think so. I think we were wrapping up towards the end too. Yeah.
So we're waiting for Jess to come in at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yep.
So let's answer some questions.
All right.
I want to know how people feel about the theaters for sure.
So earlier, like right before we started talking about this, someone said that they were afraid for their small local theaters.
Yes.
But I think that's what you were saying a little later on, that it's the small theaters that are probably going to do better from
if they can survive, if they can ride out this mess, right? Because nobody is making rent. Like it's a big business problem for everybody. But I think they have the most potential to survive, right?
But they also have to become those community spaces.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe do more birthday parties or something, and also, and maybe primarily, do the midnight screenings of the cult classics, and do stuff more like Alamo Drafthouse.
Sure.
I messed it up when we were talking about it yesterday, but like the Alamo Drafthouse and the kind of cottage, let's say hipster movie theaters, are
the places where you can get
likelier
beer and dinner.
Yeah. Like
I love those.
The places that would show that movie Samsara on the day that your state legalizes marijuana.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ben. I don't know anybody who would do that, but. Yeah, it's kind of that. I don't think everything has to go the whole meal route, because I have a lot of feelings about the Alamo Drafthouse, and they're so finicky about like the experience. Like they will kick people out for talking. Meanwhile, the servers and the actual delivering entire meals to people, I think, is more disruptive to movie going process. It's also super expensive. I do think if this is something like hopefully the government will come in and start to like help out small businesses kind of recover after the pandemic, to help them maybe make rent over the next couple of years, or over next year at the very least. But just having an indie theater where you sell concessions with reasonable ticket prices. Hello, Jess is in. With reasonable ticket prices, I think you can have a sustainable thing if you're showing things that people actually want to see too. So yeah, that means a lot of older films. Hey, there are movies I grew up with that I only was able to see in the theater as an adult. I only saw Jurassic Park in the theater because I could never see it as an adult, because I couldn't see it as a kid. Same for Terminator 2, movies I grew up with watching on VHS. So I think a lot of people want to reclaim that.
Speaking of Terminator 2,
yes,
Mark Dell was saying in the chat, just saying like, okay, what was the first movie that you've ever seen in theaters? And I am tremendously proud to be able to say that the first movie I ever experienced in theaters was Terminator 2 when I was an infant. Okay, so I didn't actually
oh my god, okay. I
didn't actually see it.
Just shut this down.
The first ever movie.
Can I boot Ben off this call?
No, the first ever movie that I was in a theater for was Terminator 2.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of that.
As an infant, hey, first of all, so I guess your parents were those people who decided to bring a crying baby to the
Right.
theater.
I don't think that
Absolute monsters.
I would
Absolute
like to
monsters.
imagine that I was not a crying baby, but
You had your headphones on, like monitoring the experience. I imagine as an infant,
something like that. Yeah.
What is the first one you remember, Ben and Sherlyn and Jess? Because Jess is here now too.
It was probably a Disney movie.
Okay.
Mine was, and this will give away my age, I think. Mine was Little Rascals.
Okay. I watched it a lot on VHS as a kid. Yeah.
What's yours?
I think the first one I kind of remember is probably Mad Max in a weird way because because my dad I was born in South America in Guyana. My family, set up there. My dad used to run projection at a theater, and I do remember going behind, like, into the booth and seeing them reel up Mad Max. And I was like 3 or something, or maybe like late 2. But I have a distinct memory of how loud the projection mechanism was and seeing the film reel up. And I think I started crying because it was so loud. But it's also such a transformative experience. Like, oh, this is how this little thing spinning makes, a 100-foot or so, 30-foot image on a screen. I found that fascinating from a very young age. Yeah.
That is such a cute and classic movie lover origin story.
It's great.
I've never heard that before. Like, you've never said that before. That's so
I mean, somebody has not listened to my other podcast.
I knew that was
Yeah.
So it looks like Jess is ready.
Okay.
Join us. But
join us, Jess. Hello, Jess Condit.
I'm here. Hello.
Hi,
I'm
hon.
ready. Ooh, ooh. I
Love
have
the
coffee,
pink.
clearly.
It looks so nice.
Yes.
Thank you. When I try. It's raining today in Phoenix, which never happens. Hasn't happened in, I swear, 100 days. And
Wow.
it's raining. It's a beautiful day.
It's been
I'm just
snowing
happy.
here in New York.
Well, there you go. I saw your Insta story.
Precipitation.
That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jess, why don't you join in? What is your first movie memory? What do you remember?
I have a terrible memory for my childhood. So I truly do not remember a first theater experience. I know I watched a lot of, Disney as a kid, but like Jaws and Baywatch and Terminator 2 at home.
You were primarily home watching kid.
Home.
Like, same for me. In Hartford, there were not many theaters. So I saw all my movies growing up in ugly pan and scan on VHS from shady video rental stores that would copy Batman Returns, and you'd end up watching a 3rd generation copy of that movie. That was my childhood. But now I think I made up for that with going to theaters as much as I can as a grown up.
I have very strong memories of watching on TV at home on laser discs.
Okay, Miss Fancy Pants.
I agree. Grease and for some reason Blue Lagoon was on TV.
Blue Lagoon.
I know it was very strange to watch that with my family. But a lot of Chinese movies, right? Because I grew up in Singapore, so.
You guys big on Laserdisc and big on video CDs, which were a thing that never really took.
Oh, VCD! Oh my god!
Yeah. VCD, yeah.
What is that even?
VCD was just crappy. It was crappy VHS level video on CD.
I have so many VCDs.
Yeah, I can imagine,
That's
and
so
all
cute.
the bad anime conversions on VCD. Yeah.
So
now kids would think that's so aesthetic, crappy VHS
crappy
quality.
Pixelated.
Yeah, crappy pixelated, but also on a CD. And anime, God.
Anime.
The TikTok kids would go crazy for that.
TikTok kids. Listen, I wish I had. Well, also VCDs looked terrible, so I think the format was oh, this is cool. You could have this, but you take a
little
super
VCD players. They were cute.
They were so cute. They were Discmen that played video, basically. But I'll say one thing here: Super VHS, which was a weird offshoot of VHS, was a slightly better high resolution VHS. The good anime fan subbers knew to use Super VHS masters, so. I remember I used to do fan subs all the time. So shout out to Soyakaze fan subs, which still has a website up on the internet. Mail orders from the mid-90s. That's where I got all my anime. They still exist. It's pretty great. All right. We're going to talk about Cyberpunk. We're all cyberpunking it up. Let's switch gears here. Any other questions, Ben, while we're at it? I think we're good. Or bank him for later.
Yeah, in general, people are just saying that like VCDs and laser discs are very fancy and fun.
Very fancy.
Like we're all just having a little nostalgia kick on that.
This is we need to go back into this, like the lost formats of yore and whatnot. But I will say, Sherlyn,
it's great.
Yeah, you had Laserdisc, fancy pants.
Players.
I had a couple family members who had Laserdisc, but it was always the thing where it's like, man, I wish I had this. I wish I had this pristine, beautiful image. It was mainly the sound that was good. But
the sound was right. We had a lot of karaoke LDs. It was great.
Why do I associate Laserdisc with like Australia? Is that a thing?
Sure.
That part of the world, I guess. I don't know.
I think it was big everywhere outside of America is the thing, but they were expensive and hard.
Like most things, very big outside of America. Like WhatsApp was until like
most cool things. Yeah.
Sure.
All right, let's get to Cyberpunk.
Let's reset. All right, let's move on to our discussion of Cyberpunk. Let me do this again. So CD Projekt Red announced Cyberpunk 2077. CD Projekt Red announced Cyberpunk 2077 in 2012. We saw a trailer, a teaser in 2013. And since then, I feel like the entire gaming world has been waiting eagerly for this thing. Joining us to talk about it is Jessica Condit, our senior editor, and also video game expert who reviewed it for us, Engadget. Hey, Jess.
Hello.
Was it worth the wait for you?
It was. So Cyberpunk is good. Like straight up, that's just my takeaway. Like I don't want to say it's fine because it's better than fine.
It's better than fine.
I don't want to say it's great though because it's not quite like it doesn't stick out in my mind as something that really pulled me in, affected me in a way that I know I'm going to remember, years down the line. It's just a solid game from a studio that really knows how to make a dense, good RPG. It's beautiful and buggy, apparently, especially on consoles, as we're finding out. They did not release
and buggy mess,
beautiful and buggy mess, and that's kind of what it is.
How much? How much time have you clocked in at this point, Jess?
About 20 hours still. I am in Cyberpunk overload at the moment. I need to step back. This is my last Cyberpunk thing for a while, I'm hoping. And then I'm going to be able to enjoy it just as a player, which is always the best part. Yeah.
That's great. I played the retail copy that just unlocked last night too. And I sat down. It was kind of a fortuitous event because the baby went down just fine. My wife was just tired, so she wanted to just do other stuff. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go play video games. And 5 hours later, I emerged from my basement. It was like, oh, I think I really like this game. Like it is a very immersive thing. And it's buggy, it's messy. I have issues with like the writing because it's very like it's not great dialogue wise, but I'm very immersed in this world. It really reminds me actually of Deus Ex Human Revolution, which like 2011, the Eidos game. I love that thing. I remember spending hours in that game, just really being immersed in the world. And this is basically that concept, first person cyberpunky story with like hacking and augments you can add to yourself, but in an actual open world. So it's combining that plus like the huge expansive world of something like,
Grand Theft Auto, I think is a good
Grand Theft Auto. It's very much
size and everything. Yeah, even the driving, the city. But like that, I think you touched on something important there is like, it's like Deus Ex. It's like Blade Runner. It's like John Wick. It's like Old Boy even. Like I like that's what I felt some Old Boy vibes personally.
I love Old Boy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's that's a good touchstone for anything. So like again, it's referencing and it's building on this foundation that's very cool and very established. It is not necessarily an innovative. It's not changing the cyberpunk genre in any way. But again, hey, it's called cyberpunk. It's pretty classic, and they really did deliver that. It's a 1980s version of the future, just kind of expanded out from a 2000s perspective. It's an interesting. See, like you said, dialogue you didn't really like. I actually love the dialogue.
There's some good stuff. Yeah,
I think the mood that they set in this game is really cool. There's some scenes that are truly beautiful, like one-on-one interactions with characters, especially. Where they really get the lighting right, the acting is solid. The acting in this game is great, I think. So
it does feel like you're in a movie, right? Because every conversation is fully voiced. Like it is, at least the main conversations and the missions and the story stuff is all pretty immersive. I think you start to break those lines once you step outside of that and start to talk to people like in rooms. You know, every room, every street is widely populated, but if you stand up to people and try to talk to them, it's just like, hey, get out of my way. Who are you?
Yeah.
It's very like one dimensional in that way. I also want to bring up Watch Dogs here because I also thought quite a lot about like the way Watch Dogs works and the way you can just hack everything in the world, take over cameras, take over, you know, attack the augments people have or things people have on their bodies. It is too bad for Watchdog Legion, which also came out a couple of weeks ago, and a game I put a couple hours into because I like that franchise. But I'm playing this, and I'm like, oh, this is full. Like this is much more mature and evolved. It's not. It's not like pushing things forward in a major way, but it is so refined and so polished. I'll say I'm playing it on, I'm testing out the NVIDIA RTX 3060 Ti right now, the more affordable GPU. And it's running fine too. Like it's running fine with ray tracing. I have an ultra wide monitor, so I'm playing it like 3440 by 1400, I believe, with ray tracing and like NVIDIA's DLSS stuff, which really helps because that renders the game at a lower resolution, uses AI to kind of display it at a higher resolution, basically decent performance. So I can run it between 50 and 60 FPS on my system, and that's great with ray tracing. I know, I don't know what your experience has been so far performance-wise, Jess.
Yeah, so I'm playing, I have a 2070, RTX 2070, and I have to run it on pretty low, like ray tracing settings. I can put ray tracing on, but I'm not maxing anything out. And it runs fine. I had one crash that like legit the game just stopped working. I had to restart. And I've had a few other bugs, you know, but it's been patched since I've had my review copy. And I think the patch that you have is different than the one I had. I have to re-download a different patch.
So I did the preload. I started preloading over GOG. Is that just GOG? But I started preloading over GOG on Wednesday, right? Or Tuesday. And then Wednesday midday, another 10 gigabyte file just came in automatically. So I assume that was the thing. And it wasn't as buggy as a lot of reviewers were saying, because I read so many things where things were just like fundamentally broken. But I do encounter some instances where things are just like weird and wild. Trillin, have you seen any footage of this game? Like, is this something you want to dive into? It looks beautiful.
Okay, so one of the people on our video team, Julio, live streamed some of it yesterday on his Twitch account, and he also shouts out, by the way, that the dialogue is great. I just watched part of the building a character bit, which I read your review, Jess, and I know we should talk a little bit about that. But like, it seems super customizable. And is Keanu Reeves actually in this? Because I've seen the memes.
Oh, is he in it? Yeah.
Oh, he's in it, man. Yeah.
Okay.
A major character. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. That's awesome, because I thought it was just someone who built a character who looked like Keanu Reeves and just was running about playing. But I mean, that seems really great. I do want, though, because this is giving me, okay, so this is showing again the sort of games I play. But this is
there solitaire in Cyberpunk? I think that's all Shirley wants.
This is reminding me of the games I used to play on my really shitty old PCs in the past, which is CSI. The CSI games. Oh man,
my god,
so great!
It is very CSI. Yeah,
I want a cyberpunk version of CSI. I'm sorry.
Oh man. Well, okay, I have a game for you.
Nancy Drew murder mystery. Yeah.
No, you want to play, and everyone, if you're looking for a sci-fi game to like actually immerse you in a world, like innovate on the genre, Disco Elysium. That's the RPG for you.
So
play
good.
Disco Elysium. Done.
Yeah.
Walk away. Like that's
mystery solving. Can I look for clues?
You're a detective. It's great. You're gonna love it.
Oh yeah.
Like it's very, very sneaky, very investigative.
It's an adventure game, but it's mostly reading and clicking. Yeah,
it's a lot of reading.
Back to Cyberpunk, the character building, or building your avatar. Jess, what did you think about that?
Yeah, so actually the character creation system I had a lot of fun with. I spent a lot of time making my character, which is the sign of a good character generator. So they have a lot of customization features. You can choose like a male body or a female body. Like those are the defaults. And then you go in, and the the thing that I really liked about it was just the depth that was available. You can change your nails, your teeth, your nipple size, your genitals. You
Sure.
can add whatever
Multiple
genitals you'd like,
genital
and
choices,
you can
apparently.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can change the size.
Mhm.
It's nice. I appreciate that kind of detail in a character editor.
Yeah.
The one thing that I did have an issue with in the character editor was the voice options. It was just a strange choice, especially for a piece of speculative fiction. They only have basically a male or a female voice option, and they kind of just ignore the idea of a non-binary or a they or them kind of approach. Not saying the voice needs to be different, but just the idea that in the dialogue, you can't have that option to be non-binary. In this world, that includes so many other details that are specific to this future that has been built out and has evolved from this place. And the idea that we have like cellular implant shards in the back of our head, but we don't have they or them pronouns, kind of like doesn't really sit well in terms of consistency or world building to me. And it's especially sticks out to me because CD Projekt Red has a history of really not taking transgender and non-binary and gender fluid people's concerns seriously when it comes to the stuff that they're putting in this game. Seems like they haven't earned the right to have like the advertisement that they have that is a bit exploitative and transphobic.
Yeah, they'll use trans identities for set dressing, basically, but not actively engage and let you be one of those characters. One thing that was also really weird about the character generator too is that you have all these options. You have so much customization. You have one type of body build,
right?
Basically, like you can either be like a very skinny, muscular female character or like a bulky, muscular man, and that's it. Like it's not great for you know, if somebody wants to play maybe heavier character or something, like somebody who wants to play a character that looks like them. This is not really the game for you. It's all about idealized, you know, cyberpunk protagonist. You want somebody that's cool looking, it's muscular and skinny and can kick some ass. I found that really funny. That's one thing that was, how hard is that? Because it's not like you're seeing your character model very much. You see yourself in a mirror once in a while. And the mirrors are funny too, because they're like digital. So you have to go up to a mirror and hit a button and be like, oh, mirror, turn on. Because that's the sort of like shitty future I believe we will probably get into. You know, a smart device that's actually harder to use than the mirrors that have existed for thousands of years. So that detail is funny also because it saves on game rendering and everything, so they don't have to deal with as many reflections. But that's the only time you see your character. You know, like occasionally,
unless you're like on the bike, you can like get on Jackie's bike. But like no, it's not a ton. You're in first person, so like you just see hands usually. Yeah. I like that. I do like the detail they have, like all the wires and the like. They really put thought, and they definitely were building out a realistic, futuristic world, near future science fiction. And so like it just when they don't do it in certain aspects, it feels like why you know why wasn't that? Why didn't you do it there too?
Part of it to me feels like it's like futurism in cyberpunk as aesthetic and not as like anything meaningful either too, right? Because it's not, I'm a big fan of Ghost in the Shell. You know, it's not really something where people are wrestling with their sense of identity and what these augments mean to them and how they define their humanity. Even though I know that is actually a big part of the actual cyberpunk tabletop game too, you know, created by Mike Pondsmith. Like that, the idea of wrestling with your humanity has always been at the core of what cyberpunk is. And this game's just like, well, it's you got stuff in your face, you got wires are cool. Like it's using them aesthetically in the way that some people use like piercings or tattoos. I don't know if it actually means anything to the characters because they don't really reference it. It's just like the state of the world. And I guess that's the message they're going for, right? It's just like everything's kind of shitty and look at this bad tech that is just making our lives worse, but it doesn't really comment on it, at least from what I've seen so far.
Which is what I was kind of hoping for, I think. Or maybe it's not that I even expected it. Like I kind of knew this was going to be, you know, I saw a lot of previews of this game and you can read all of them on Engadget. But like it was clearly a Blade Runner, you know, inspired cyberpunk world. I was hoping for a little surprise though. I was hoping
Mhm.
for something that made me think a little more. I really like Cyberpunk. I like thinking about these futures. That's why maybe I'm extra critical when they
Mhm.
don't get it quite right. But yeah, I think it is an interesting story in the end. But it's classic.
Yeah.
It's not really saying much new. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I do think
go ahead.
it's funny that like you have so many customization options for so many things down to
Yes.
minor details like the nail color and color of the blusher on your face or whatever, and for both genders or all genders, right? But then yeah, the body build types are so limited, like Devindra pointed out. That's just definitely funny because my experience with building my avatar mostly comes from Sims, and Sims lets you build as wide as you want, pretty much. So that to me seems like an interesting limitation, and the way they kind of want you to see yourself as you play this game. But I haven't played, so y'all, I don't know what that means to someone who's actually played that game. Like, does it make a huge difference? Like Jess said, you don't see yourself a lot in this.
It's a weird thing because I think any first person game, I want to like embody, if I'm building a character, I want it to at least reflect some vision I have of the character.
Right.
So, you know, I made a very cool cyberpunk tough fighting lady who has like a lot of cool features and whatnot and a cool hairdo. But not like the reflection that I really want to put into that world. It feels like part of it was just forced on me. And I think there's a difference. But playing a game like Dishonored or something, right? Or a first person action game where you're just playing one specific character, you have no character gen, you get into that character in a different way. But if you give me the prospect of character generation, at least like live up to it, you know, let me actually build something that looks more like I want to look. And maybe they can fix this down the line. It seems like a simple enough thing to kind of optimize. There are a lot of stories about the issues around this game, right? They've been basically in crunch mode for the past year, for the majority of the past year, even though CD Projekt Red said they weren't going to be doing that. The reality of building a game this big is that people have to work hard. They have to work hard for very long. And that is not a way I want developers to live. So as a counterpoint, right? Halo Infinite just announced it's being delayed. It's being delayed for a full year. We're not seeing Halo Infinite until next year, partially because they wanted the developers to have some downtime over the holidays. They wanted people to kind of have time to work on this thing and make it good. That's, you know, it's not great news for Halo and Xbox overall, but it's something that's like very developer focused because I think the world can live without another Halo game for a couple months. You know, let's make something actually truly innovative for a while. That's like the big thing hitting me.
I think that's laudable. I would love to like chill on the news for a bit so I can take some time off, but okay, I guess not.
Yeah, it turns out like having time to think and not being overworked and burned out makes you produce better work.
Yeah.
Shocking. Well, and Halo needed some work from what we saw.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they're taking the time. I'm glad they're giving the developers, the time to do it right and feel good about it. Yeah, that's what we want.
For sure. One thing too, like just do you see Cyberpunk as a game you'll be spending more time in even after you end the main narrative? Or are you gonna be digging around the world and looking at the corners and side stories and whatnot?
It's possible because so I started playing it on PC, and I want to play it though on console. So I may start actually a new game, and I may just do a whole new run through, and
Very
maybe
nice.
start from a different place and like change my background. Yes, Sherlyn, she's very excited.
Sherlyn's doing her frame.
Can you play online with friends? Can I play with you?
Aww.
It's not that kind of game.
You can watch Jess's Twitch stream.
You can watch me.
Does that. Yeah.
I will, but I want to like create my character and go Jess's character on like a tour of Cyberpunk.
You want to be like the annoying fairy on Jess's shoulder. Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah, that's what me and Jess want. But
Jess, have you tried? By the way, because I know, are you playing on a laptop, right? Yeah. So have you tried plugging that into your TV and like plugging in a controller and doing it like as a console-like thing? Is that how you're doing it?
That's how I first tried to play, and the delay between my laptop and the TV screen was like too much to really make it work, and I couldn't figure out how to make it any less. So I ended up, but I did play with a controller. I didn't play with the keyboard and mouse, and I enjoy that. Yeah.
I mean, this is a first-person game, and typically you think keyboard and mouse, but I like the controller feedback for driving, for other things, and also you get vibration. You get some feedback that you don't normally get with the keyboard and mouse. So sorry, PC purists out there, but yeah, this is the way it is. So overall, you're enjoying it though, Jess. I think that's our main takeaway here.
Yeah, it's
despite
good.
the issues
It's
and everything.
sexy. Like it's yeah, no, it there are some issues, whatever, but it's a good game. I'm really enjoying it. And that's what I was trying to convey in my reviews. I know the fandom around this game is pretty strong. You know, like you said, it's highly anticipated. People have been waiting for this for 8 years. So have I. Like, I've really been excited about this game.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, CD Projekt Red knew what the issues were, and they've really created something. I think that's impressive. They should be proud of. You know, that's great. But obviously needs some more work still. They need to clean out these bugs. In a year, this game is going to run great, and it's gonna be fine.
And I hope like they add more content down the line to like optimize things a little, change up the character generation. I hope they actually acknowledge the issues people are bringing up, because the way they've handled trans identity hasn't been great. And it's a weird thing too, because I think as a culture, you know, it's a touchy subject for a lot of people. Like Dave Chappelle, comedian I love very much, is still kind of shitty about that. And hey, I think we've got a lot of evolving to do as a culture. But it is kind of cool. I guess it is kind of interesting that this is a game that at least puts certain things front and center, even if it's not engaging with it. Maybe that's something, but I don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, the game can't just use trans identity as set dressing. You know, you have to actually, like you say, engage with it. You have to make it a part of the world in a meaningful way. I don't think the studio has done that, but maybe they can in the future. I have hope. I really do. But we just got to keep talking about it, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. One thing I'll say here too is that I'm still waiting for the moment where like the writing really grabs me or really impresses me too, because I couldn't at this point. I put CD Projekt Red up there next to Rockstar in terms of companies that spend years producing these giant open world things. And the thing about Rockstar is that for all the, you know, we criticize it quite a bit, and I think they're not great with a lot of topics, but sometimes like I think of like Grand Theft Auto 4 and how that was a really great story about the immigrant experience in America and the DLC in that. Like sometimes the writing just kind of hits you in a certain way. Red Dead Redemption 2, not a huge spoiler there, but you know, that's a game that's really about somebody who is dying. You know, it is playing somebody who is slowly dying, who's not just the badass Western guy. And I feel like that stuff Rockstar tends to do well. I'm hoping for more of that from CD Projekt Red. Maybe as they produce more content or as they refine what's in this game. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think that's the main thing. I can't remember the last time I sat down and played a single game for 5 hours. And that says a lot, that I was able to be like immersed in this world and lose track of time completely.
Yeah. Good sign.
Cool. Well, Jess, let me see. Let's wrap you out in a better way. So, Jess, thank you for chatting about Cyberpunk. Where can we find you on the internet, and anything you're working on in Engadget that we can look forward to?
Oh man, I'm working on everything. Yeah, so the Game Awards are tonight. This is Thursday, so I have a few embargoed stories that I'm working on for that. And then there's going to be some other news, I'm sure, that I'll be very surprised by, and I'll have to scramble to write as that happens. Yeah, I'm talking to some cool developers, so you know, stay tuned for interviews. And you can find me on Twitter at Jess Conditt, Conditt, and on Instagram, Jess L Conditt. I'll see you there.
Thank you, Jess.
Yay!
Okay, bye guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, I can't.
Oh, can you remind her? Hey, Jess, you're still listening?
Yeah.
Hey. Were you recording
Q&A
local audio, by the way? Yeah, do Q&A. Yeah, actually, yes.
Q&A?
Stick around Q&A if you want.
Oh, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
Were you recording local audio, by the way, Jess?
Yes, I was.
Okay,
good.
Yay.
Didn't ask.
I know. Right before we started, I was like, oh wait.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, I've been very stressed this week.
It's okay.
And so yeah, that was just another thing. But yeah, let's do a little bit of Q&A on Cyberpunk. So chat, what do you have to say about Cyberpunk? Again, just as always, if you want to get through the morass in the chat, you can get the priority line if you tweet at Engadget with the hashtag podcast live.
Yeah.
But just, ask us your Cyberpunk questions. This game literally came out, what was it, 7 p.m. Eastern
7
yesterday?
p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
So it hasn't even been 24 hours. But
yeah, and I sat down at 8 p.m. and just started playing, and that was fun.
Markdale in the chat had a comment that he can't tell if Cyberpunk is mature or childish. Interesting.
Who's the review that said it was basically dad rock?
I think that was
Kotaku.
That was the Polygon review.
Polygon. That was Carolyn. Yeah. I think
that is very I think it's that it is mature and boundary pushing in the way that an older dad may consider, which goddamn, that's me now. Oh no.
Well, yeah. All right.
Yep.
No, and we didn't really talk about like how much like sex is in this game, but it's just like that's the core foundation.
I guess maybe I'll look into this game. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's nice. I appreciate that. It feels real. It feels
real. It's like they're trying to be sex positive, but I think in the way that somebody who, I don't know, understood this from 10 years ago. Like, I don't think it's finally it's caught up with like the way things are now. But hey, they're trying. That's something. Yeah.
It looks like people are also agreeing with your recommendation of Disco Elysium, Jeff. So I think I really want to check it out. Can I play on PC for now?
You can.
Yeah, only PC for now. Yeah.
And actually, it runs well on like slower systems too, because it's mainly a text.
Like League of Legends?
Even lower. It's like even easier.
Oh, perfect. So I can play it. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So Tommy in the chat says, does it remind you of Johnny Mnemonic?
Oh yeah. Why do you think Keanu Reeves is in this movie or in this game? Yeah.
In this movie.
There's so many reference points.
There's so many references. Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
You definitely jack in on many occasions. We didn't talk about, by the way, the epilepsy stuff, but that is not great. Not great.
Not great. That's awful. How did they not think about that?
Especially because I've been, as anyone who's seen the last few episodes of this, I've been playing so much Control. And Control has epilepsy warnings at the very beginning. Because of that one thing that just makes tons of like
every game does. Every game, I think actually every game is legally required to have it too. Like even a Mario game will have that because of what happened after the Pokemon stuff with that show in the 90s, right? So, but the thing is, this game has a sequence where you literally put on like a headset to jack into digital memories, and they flash lights repeatedly in front of you, which look exactly like apparently the things that doctors use to induce seizures.
Literally,
like they just took that concept. So I saw this once it started happening. I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out. It did start to give me a headache in a weird way because I play Control. I play a lot of like very bright games that don't affect me at all. So not great, guys.
No, it's a very specific instance. Like, and the thing that they're doing in the game, they're trying to like hack into someone's brain this way. And it's like, well, yeah, you might. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
God, that's
meanwhile, they're actually hacking real people's brains.
Yeah, it's not okay. It's really not. It's scary. Yeah.
We have also a question from our video, Julio, on our video team. He says, can you guys talk about the biggest issue with Cyberpunk, which is the keybind locking issue? That's not something I am familiar with.
I have not seen that. So I guess for people, I don't know if Julio can elaborate, but is it people playing keyboard and mouse who want to like bind to different keys? Is that what the issue is? Okay. So Julio says, because he's talking to us over headphones, some letters he can't change, and that sucks. I think that's a simple fix for them over time. Like they'll take in the feedback, and hopefully they will. I will say like controller support has been pretty good so far. Like it's been pretty fluid. I've been using the Xbox One X controller over here and getting like good vibration and everything. And hey, it turns out playing PC games on your TV is pretty great. Yay.
Woo!
So in terms of politics, I think it's also beyond gender politics as well. I remember some articles maybe 6 or so months ago when we thought that we were getting it like toward the end of the summer, early fall, and so people were getting ready to talk about that. And it's also like general just like wealth and inequality politics as well. You think about one of the classic works of Cyberpunk, like Snow Crash, and how it talks about corporate fiefdoms and really accelerationism and companies gone mad like that. And as far as I've seen, Cyberpunk doesn't really talk about that. They're just like, oh yeah, everything is crappy because this is all based on Kowloon Walled City and so on and so on, but not really talking about how things got there. Can you verify that for me?
No, if you saw anything, Jess. Yeah,
that's about right. I mean, it's just this is it, and that's just the world, and
that's just the world.
Again, that's fine. That is kind of a commentary in and of itself. But again, we've heard it before. It's like a Black Mirror. You can only say the same thing so many
One
ways.
interesting thing, by the way, is like when you do character gen is like you could choose from 3 different backgrounds. So you could be like somebody from the desert, I guess, like a scavenger type person, somebody born on the streets. you know, which is what I ended up choosing. And then somebody who comes from the corporate high class background who throws it all away. And that kind of, yes, that reflects a lot of your dialogue, right? Like other dialogue options will pop up because if you're working with somebody from within that class, you could be like, oh yeah, I remember this, or I know how that is. So my street punkness means I know a lot of what's happening on the ground, but once I start talking to the high class people, I have no clue what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like it because
I'm in the corporate. That was cool. Sorry.
No, just like as the corporate, like I chose the corporate one, and it's really cool when you're in these like high pressure negotiations to have that extra option to be like, oh, I know a little bit more, or I have some insight. It's nice. So they did a good job.
There's a lot of like background text in the game too, which I haven't found super illuminating. It is a lot of things. You just find it's like, you know, random memos and pads and data all over the game. Sometimes it seems like they repeat themselves too, so the game doesn't do a good job of reminding you of what you've already picked up and what you've already read. But I don't know. Like, does anybody have any other questions? Like, I am really enjoying the immersive.
There are a few. Yeah. Can I? Yes.
Go.
There's at least 2 or 3 questions. So one, Mark Bell asks, if the game's going to be a shock to people who live stream it because it shows off nudity very early, and he wonders about people getting banned. I mean, D-Man also mentioned that some of his favorite Twitch streamers were nervous about showing Cyberpunk last night after midnight. That, and then I think somewhat related is Moses Urena is asking if the game is very GPU intensive without ray tracing.
Yeah.
So
yes.
What do you think about
It's a heavy game. Yeah, it's like it's chugging on like consoles. You know, it's kind of like Control when it came out on PS4, Xbox One. It's a heavy game. Yeah,
I think if you have an NVIDIA 20 series or anything equivalent, and certainly the 30 series, I'm surprised that the 3060 Ti, which is technically a $400 card, can still run like medium level GPU with medium level ray tracing with ray traced reflections and whatnot at 3440 by 1400. Like, that's a pretty high resolution, and it's doing okay, but mainly thanks to DLSS. So you need a new, like if you have a 10 series NVIDIA card or something much, much older, you may have a lot of issues. You may have to go like at a lower resolution at the least.
And then the nudity stuff, do y'all think like people are going to be live streaming this soon? I mean, the one live stream I watched had a mature rating warning on it.
Yeah. Like Twitch knew this was coming. This wasn't a surprise. They're not going to block Cyberpunk. This is a huge draw to their platform. Seriously, like they're not going to be doing that. Maybe, you know, if someone is an idiot about it, maybe they'll knock that person off. But
sure.
No, you're good. It's nudity is fine, right? Like we're all adults here.
We're all grown ups.
Hopefully you're all adults. Yeah.
I hope you're all adults.
We didn't know what's going on in the chat room, but I wonder too if it's like a thing that's happening with more modern games too, because I remember there's one scene in The Last of Us 2 where things got a little more explicit than I expected it to, and it just kind of went with it because it's a mature game telling like a grown-up story, but you see a character who is having sex and is topless, and it's like it's a major thing. This game goes even further because you have genitalia you could choose from. And I think one weird thing that happens to me is I don't know if you're supposed to have your character be completely naked when you look at your mirror at home. Like in your home apartment. In the beginning, okay.
Yeah.
It's just like they're naked. Even though once I exit the mirror and look down, I have clothes. Oh, it's a weird thing. Yeah.
That might be a glitch then. Yeah. Yeah. But I had a moment where I looked in the mirror, I was naked too. Yeah. And my character is covered in tattoos. I love that they have all the tattoos.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of full body things going on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I don't know if you've noticed, Jess, or the armor in this game is very weird because just the way the levels and stuff work is that I'm wearing like hot pants and a halter top and like a weird funny hat, and that is the highest level armor I can get right now, even though there's like actual jackets and clothing that should protect.
Yeah, a halter is not good armor.
Apparently it is. Apparently.
I mean, isn't that the classic issue of especially female RPG armor?
Yes, it is.
Boob armor. It's like what is that?
But it's not even armor. It's a very thin t-shirt.
Yeah. I know. No, I'm going for like half the time I'm going more for aesthetic when I pick her clothes. Yeah. I'm kind of like, it's fine. I'll survive or I won't. It's okay. I'm just gonna look cool.
I want to like at least upgrade cool looking armor to be higher level, like a Destiny or something, because
Mhm.
yeah, the aesthetics of it is it's weird. At one point, I was wearing basketball shorts, a
Mhm.
biker jacket, and a halter top, and like a
Platforms.
helmet. Yeah, and
Yeah.
platforms. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. Yeah,
I think that was it for questions from
Cool.
the chat on my end. Ben, were there more you wanted to bring up?
No, I think that
Oh,
Jess is trying to
Doggy!
pay the dog tax.
Yay!
Dog on cam! Yay!
Good job. She's so sleepy. It's raining and she
Aw.
hates it. She doesn't know what to do with rain
Yeah.
outside. She says, "What do
Did
I
she
do?"
watch you play Cyberpunk and did she enjoy it?
There's the
She
other
does.
one.
Oh,
The
hi.
other dog's
Yeah.
like, hey.
Do you
I
have
want
to
some
cover
too.
her eyes when there's
He,
nudity?
yeah.
Probably not, because these dogs are always naked. They just walk around naked all the time.
They do have clothes, but not today. Yeah. All right.
All right. I think we're good.
Yeah, I
I'll let
think
you
we
go,
need
Jess.
to move on to working on picks and close out the episode. Jess,
Oh, I was
thanks.
recording that locally the whole
That's
time.
good. Good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
that's
you need
perfect.
all of
We
it?
may use
Okay.
bits of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
that's perfect.
All right. Well, I'm good then.
Thank you so much. Send that to Ben, please. Yeah.
Will do.
Thanks, babe.
Mhm.
All right. Bye. Love
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Too.
All right. Where are we here? Where are we? Okay. I need to let you talk for a while, Sherlyn. We've been talking for so long.
It's
Yeah,
cool. I
so-
got things to talk about after this.
Yeah.
So Sherlyn, why don't you start the working on
Sure.
thing?
Let me just pull up where did the notes go? Oh, there they are. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
So when you're not playing Cyberpunk, Devindra, what else have you got going on this week in terms of work?
Oh, actually, can we? Why don't you start? Just because I do feel like the listeners are probably tired of me at this point.
Okay.
So start
Okay,
yourself.
yeah. So yeah, just go into working on.
Ready?
that.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. So I haven't been playing any Cyberpunk, but there's a lot of work to be done. I think you have seen, I teased this up on the previous episode. I've been reviewing the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Fold. It is the first foldable PC that you can buy, which why do you want to fold Windows? I don't know.
Let's just.
but,
What's your score? Just tell us your score, and I think we'll
I think it
know
was
how you feel.
64.
64.
Out of 100, which is very low for us. We
Yes.
usually like an 80 something is a meh.
85, I feel like, is a average good. Like you can buy this type of score.
Yeah,
64
right.
is stay the hell away from this.
64 is I don't think there's reason to buy this. And I
No.
really don't think there's reason to buy this because I have it with me here now. And it's Windows is one of the biggest issues with this, where like Windows is one of my biggest issues with it. Price is my second biggest issue with this. It's $25 to $2,600 to start. And with that, you're just getting the tablet with the built-in kickstand. So you can either hook up your own keyboard and mouse and use it as like a screen or like an all-in-one but small, right? Like a 13-inch AIO. But otherwise you're using it as a tablet. And Windows as a tablet, we all know, sucks. It's just completely terrible. There was so many glitches, not to mention all the glitches. It's like I was frustrated. There's a lot of people in the industry that have reviewed it too that has similar issues. I couldn't go into every single glitch that came up in my review. There's just not enough words, not enough time. But like when I was switching orientations, for example, from landscape to portrait mode, all the apps I had, like all the windows I had minimized to the taskbar would come up the second you like switch orientation. You can see this in the review video. We have it in the recording. It's just why? I don't want to be bombarded by all the apps at once. So that went up. For more of our thoughts, you can check that out. And I can talk about this later on when we're talking to the live chat Q&A audience too. But right now, I am actually reviewing the Amazon Echo frames. I haven't put on glasses in a long time. But these are cool. These are Amazon's Alexa enabled frames. I accidentally said the wait word, so now yeah. And actually they're surprisingly lightweight so far. I'm really liking them. And they have open ear like audio projection, so you can hear music if you stream through them. You can also.
Is it bone conduction or are they like little speakers?
No, it's like it's more similar to Bose's Way, which is like it's projecting into your ear canal the audio. And then there's a touch sensitive panel. There's buttons on the bottom of the right arm to control volume and like answer questions or whatever. So far, I'm having fun with it, but I've only had it for a day. So stay tuned for the full review on that.
Cool.
And then I'm also working on putting together our best and worst of the year coverage. I would love our listeners and viewers to chime in and let me know what you thought were some of the best things in 2020 and some of the worst things in tech in 2020, because we have our list, we're
so many bad things. Yeah.
So, well, there are actually surprisingly a lot more good things than there are bad things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to hear everyone, like, if you have any ideas on some of the gadgets you thought were a spectacular fail this year, or anything in tech, really, social media, whatever. But yeah, it's a lot's going on. There's no real rest from now until next November, with CES coming up and everything, and other stuff that
next November.
Yeah, because it's like the only time I feel like I got any rest at all was Thanksgiving. So we'll see.
Oh man, maybe around Christmas we'll have some break, and then CES stuff is happening, and
Christmas time will be for CES planning. Honestly,
really,
yeah, it's already going on, but we'll see.
We'll see. What are you working on? I am. So we finally got in the M1 MacBook Pro. I already reviewed the MacBook Air, so just kind of putting this through its paces right now. It is weird because it is pretty much exactly the same as MacBook Air, which is a weird thing to say because it's the same processor. It is the same 8-core GPU too, which you have to spend a little more for like 1250 MacBook Air to get that one. But benchmark wise, like pretty identical. I think the things I've been reading and seeing from people is that since the MacBook Pro has active cooling, it has a fan, it should be able to do sustained workloads better than the MacBook Air. So like very long video rendering or 3D rendering, that's kind of why you get this. But it is a weird device. I need to like wrap my head around it because it still only has 2 USB-C ports.
Right.
It is it's functionally, it costs $200 more than the, I think 250. It costs more than the MacBook Air as a base model, but you're not really getting that much more out of it aside from the fan. So it seems like it's in a weird spot right now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was hoping for more power out of it, but maybe not. I don't know what.
It's the same, like it is the same chip and the benchmarks are identical. Like the thing is like maybe it'll change for prolonged stuff, for very long rendering, like I'm saying, but we'll see. I need to do more testing and kind of write this up. But hey, it's the chip is still good. I think the M1 is still very responsive. And for somebody who does maybe more work than, if you want to do rendering often, if you do it several times a week, this may be worth the investment. Although I think for very, very hardcore users, you'll probably be looking at the MacBook Pro 16-inch or the 13 inches with the Intel chips that can have more RAM and stuff. So you've got choices right now. I feel like this one sits at a weird place.
We'll wait for your full review then. Should we move right on to picks?
Let's move on. Hold on.
Let's actually try to do like a seamless transition.
That's fine. Microsoft Edge just gave me, a weird pop-up about sleeping tabs. It just put a tab to sleep. I've never seen that before.
Edge.
What the hell? Okay. I like Edge. Edge is fine. Okay. Let's go to the next thing. All right, let's move on to our pop culture picks for the week. I have a kind of a fun one because I've been watching a lot of movies and stuff, and you can check that out. But one of the most interesting things that happened this week is Dunkey, the video game YouTube commenter, put up a video called "Why I'm Done Making Good Videos," and it is a scathing indictment about the YouTube platform right now in terms of this is a guy who writes really fun and funny videos, and he's been doing that for years, many, many years. But now YouTube is inundated with people who have a team of video editors and people helping out. But there are people who are producing quick content, things around Fortnite, things around Among Us, things that aren't as insightful or funny, but they can get controversy and they can get YouTube hits better than Dunkey can. So he basically says oh yeah, I'm going to stop making good videos and I'm just going to make, crappy bad videos. So the first one is Drama Mondays. It's fine video game drama. And then for this entire week, he has produced those crappy,
Amazing.
The actual things he's pitching. There is an Among Us thing. There is a thing where he's just commenting on somebody else's video in real time, because that requires very little thought, I guess. It is just funny. I think it's a great commentary on where YouTube is right now. I like Dunkey quite a bit because he's a really creative and smart guy and a great commentary. Like, he's somebody who produces good commentary. So if you haven't watched him before, it's worth checking it out now. But I do want to say, like, I appreciate him pointing out, like, man, YouTube is just turning into this weird cesspool. It kind of always was, but it is funny how, like, the people who were producing good content that takes a while to produce, I'm thinking of people like Patrick Willems, who does some really good movie commentary, and he basically produces 30 to 45-minute movies on YouTube about his stuff. That is going away because quick hits, controversial hits matter more to the YouTube algorithm. This is the story of the internet. You know, this is what happened to the internet overall. It's just kind of sad to see. But yeah, shout out to Dunkey. I hope he continues to make good videos, because his thing is basically, like, he's getting old. He cannot keep up with these teams of YouTube content hounds. And I hope he can find a way to keep working, because I feel like he and so many other people, I'm feeling this too. This is what burnout feels like. You know, it feels like watching an entire industry move in a direction you don't like, that requires so much work, and you kind of lose yourself as a part of it too. So shout out to Dunkey. I think he's pretty great. Sherlyn, what are you checking out?
I mean, I've checked out a lot of stuff that probably aren't suitable for recommending, but yeah, what's the happiest season? It was pretty good. I mean,
that was really cute. I really like that.
Yeah. But no, my recommendations, I'm still trying to keep with science fiction. It's all I watch, really. And I'll start with Spectral, which is this film on Netflix right now. It was from 2016. I really enjoyed it. Like, I didn't expect, like, the blend of, and this is maybe because I haven't watched as many, like, I guess, military themed movies, but it's about these, like, I don't even know what part of the armed forces they are, but these soldiers that are in like a, I guess, I'm not sure if it's a real country. I didn't pay attention to the actual name. But they're in this, like, conflict zone, and they have these, like, otherworldly enemies that look like spectral projections, and they have to figure out how to get rid of that. And it's just like, I just wasn't expecting it to be so good, and the plot moved really quickly. I was really wrapped up in it. I really enjoyed it. And it's so weird because I find it hard to actually find good, like, gripping science fiction adventure type movies anymore that aren't like the big grand, like, space movies, that sort of thing. So that is one of my recommendations. The other is, I'm sure you've heard of this, and you're going to be very surprised, Avindra, that I'm recommending this. I think you think it's good. This is Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Sure.
You approve? Have you seen it?
I mean, I've heard good things. I've not seen it yet, but I've heard good things about it.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. It's really good. It's the idea that, so Dirk Gently is this kind of human, maybe human, we don't know, kind of mysterious, kind of like a Doctor Who type of character, I think. And he goes around solving things holistically, and by holistic they mean, like, the universe just kind of, like, guides you in the place that you should be in, and this points you towards the crimes you need to solve and stuff like that, and just, like, everything sort of happens for a reason, and it's kind of strange. You're left to wonder. It also stars Elijah Wood, by the way. He's, to me, unrecognizable in this series, just because I just associate him so much with Frodo. But he does really good in this series, and I just really enjoyed it. The storytelling is good, but sadly, only 2 seasons. It's on Hulu, but both seasons were a really great ride. I wish they had a chance to, like, kind of take it further, but they didn't. I mean, there's more, and there's people. It's almost like a softer version of X-Men, because there's people in there that have other abilities too, and it's kind of fun.
Soft boys X-Men, I guess. I don't know.
Soft boys X-Men is maybe a good way to describe it, but yeah. So that's a light, like, a kind of comedy take. Also, it's more lighthearted than something like, I guess, Spectral is. But yeah, I don't know. That's fun. There you go.
That's fun. It's very good. One quick recommendation, because I didn't put this on the list, but I was thinking of you as I started watching The Flight Attendant on HBO Max.
Oh, Kaylee Cuoco. I've heard some.
Yeah, Kaylee Cuoco, and a show about traveling, and it really makes me miss traveling. It makes me miss flying all over.
Watch it then, like,
it will make you miss traveling. I mean, the first episode is set in Bangkok, I believe. So it is a lot of, like, jet setting all over the world. People going to, like, great food markets and stuff. We didn't get to do this year, so it is fun to watch, but it makes me sad.
I miss the food from all over the world that I used to be able to eat. But yeah, we'll get there one day.
We'll be back at Computex one day, folks, and we'll all be living normal lives again, hopefully. All right, I'll let you wrap up.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the outro.
So that's it for our episode this week, everyone. Thank you as always for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by Ben Elman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter, and I podcast about movies and TV at /film.com. Be sure to check that out. Also, I was on the tested.com podcast this week talking about a lot of different things, all the major news, so be sure to check that out. That was me and Norm and Kashirs, and that was fun.
If you want to send me all your CSI-style game recommendations, I'm at Sherlyn Lowe on Twitter. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review on iTunes, please, and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts, including Spotify.
Woo!
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yeah, let's do just a couple
Quick Q&A?
of minutes
Sure,
of
sure,
quick Q&A. So, does anybody have anything to say? It is.
What is up? Happy Thursday, everybody.
These glasses
yeah.
are weirding me out. First of all, I have
Are they prescription or are they just like clear?
They're
your
clear for
prescription
me
in
because I
there?
don't. Yeah,
Oh.
I don't need. But you can put prescription in there. I just don't need it.
Mhm.
But like these lashes are ridiculously long, so they're like I can't put them all the way up. That I feel like I really hard. So they're like
They
hold
look
on.
very, very dirty. So I can't
Yeah,
expect
a little bit
more.
because I wiped
Yeah.
them with my disinfecting wipes and then like probably left specks behind. But this is where they
No.
would sit normally.
Mhm.
They're very comfortable. I'm
Okay.
surprised.
I mean, plastic frames can be. I want smart glasses eventually, but
Yeah, they're very light and comfortable.
What do you have to say about the quality of the speakers? I'm very curious.
So yeah, so far, I mean, I've tested the Bose frames and now I'm testing these, and I think so far I haven't played a lot of music on it. I've heard this assistant speak to me through here, and it's definitely not the loudest. And if you want it to be louder too, people around you can hear what you're listening to. So actually, what I'm going to do is maybe try to play some music on here right now and tell you in real time. Okay, I just turned it on.
It's funny that we're at a point where, oh man, I can't listen to music because my glasses need to be recharged. Talk about shitty smart device future.
Alexa,
I hear something.
play Spotify. Alexa, play Spotify.
Also perfect in New York where just
I
talking
was
to
thinking
yourself.
about putting that as
normal.
the end thing in the podcast, but no, I don't want to do that because if anyone,
No, it'll trigger.
yeah. That's we live in such weird future.
Yep.
Why can't it,
Alexa, resume.
why can't these trigger words be something that like would never come out?
You could say, hey computer. You can change it to that.
Can you hear them?
Yeah, I can hear something. Yeah. It's
Okay.
clearly not bone conducting. Yeah.
Okay, so that paused it. So yeah, it's loud enough, but it's definitely not the audio quality I'm looking for. I definitely hear close to zero bass, mostly like echoey mids, and then like barely any highs. So we'll see. We'll test it.
Basically, like phone connection.
Yeah.
Like you're listening to pop music through a phone.
Oh no, worse than a phone. A phone's
Well,
better
no,
than
but
this.
I don't mean phone speakers. I mean like an actual phone connection.
Yeah, like
you're
a phone
talking with
call.
a landline. or
Like
something.
over the phone with
Yes,
someone.
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
over the phone.
Oh,
Any
it
other
sounds
questions?
Like,
What's
looks
up?
like
What's up?
Bruna on the chat actually heard the music. Wow.
Yeah, we heard it. We heard
Oh
it.
we all heard it. So I scrolled like all the way up to the end of the chat, and I mean that was back when we were talking about like Facebook stuff. People were making fun of like, oh yeah, like eventually we're gonna have like TurboTax stories or something. Facebook has been taking
We need to we need to devote a whole episode to just destroying TurboTax and Intuit eventually.
Next season, that's when we'll do it. April, we'll do it in
Hassan
April.
Minhaj already did that.
Yep.
Hassan.
He did. He took all the good ideas.
Minaj?
Yes. Yeah, he already did that with I don't know if I'm gonna say it on the stream, but like go look up his name and
Intuit.
TurboTax.
Yeah.
It He has a website that will show you the exact way to get your taxes done if you make under whatever the cutoff is.
The
60,000
companies that are
or something like that.
single-handedly stopping us from having simple tax filing is
Yeah,
the
they are
companies making
literally
all the money from
lobbying
it.
to make it harder for us to do taxes, or make it so it isn't like we're not like every other country where the taxes are just done for us and we get a receipt that's like, hey, like this is what happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, TurboTax stories, and like in my circles, I've seen a lot of stuff about, eventually we're gonna have like Ableton Live stories or something. I can only imagine how annoying Ableton Live stories would actually be. Just a bunch of people trying really, really hard to be cool. And let's be real, any kind of production, music production, podcast production, it's a pretty nerdy enterprise. It's very strange that you have these DJs that are like, oh yeah, I'm cool, I'm in the jet set, when really what they spend most of their time doing, if they're actually good musicians, is spending a lot of time A/B testing stuff, A/B testing their mics, A/B testing like different plugins for like that exact effect that they want. They're spending like 45 minutes tweaking these little things in their DAWs. It's very strange. I can't get over the fact that there's an entire generation of producers that started doing this on Mario Paint. They're really trying to glamorize
Mario Paint.
the thing that they started doing on Mario Paint.
Yeah, I remember Mario Paint. I played that for
I
a
do
bit.
not,
You
but
had like a little mouse for the Super NES. Talk about like going back to old school. It had a really cool soundtrack. It had a really cool like setup, but the mouse on a Super Nintendo was just wild. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Because I gotta run to the bathroom.
Yeah, I think that we're done. So
all right. Thank you, folks.
Let me do our secondary credits, because this stream comes to you via our video team that's led by Kyle Monk with Owen Davidoff, Julio Barrientos, and Luke Brooks. It's powered by everyone in the chat. So if you stuck around this long, and rate the show on iTunes, thanks to everyone in the chat. You guys make it so much fun. We'll see you next week.